All right. How's everyone doing tonight? Welcome to this week's episode of Good Humans with Women and Weapons. My name is Dane. I'm a fellow artist, longtime friend of Sara and Jake, the fearless leaders behind the Women and Weapon project and brand. As always, I will be co hosting alongside these two lovely humans. So, tonight, we have the immense privilege to be speaking with the lovely and talented Amber Vittoria. Amber is a very accomplished artist and poet, actually, working in New York City. She currently has three sold out NFT collections, as a Forbes 30 Under 30 recipient, Society of Illustrations gold medalist, American Illustration Chosen winner, AOI World Illustrations overall winner, and ADC Annual Award winner. Her work has been recognized in print magazine, It's Nice That, Computer Arts, HuffPost, and Teen Vogue. And she's also worked with a ton of really cool clients, some such as Facebook, Warby Parker, Apple, New York Times, NBC, Google, Gucci, Adidas, and Snapchat. And actually many, many more. So, wow, it's no surprise that the Women in Weapon patron wallet was used to buy into her Alphabet NFT collection on December 11th of last year. And I just got to say, man, do I feel outpaced here. I mean, it's really, really cool to be sitting down with someone that, an artist that's this accomplished and has done some really, really cool things. So I think this is going to be great. And yeah, without further ado, let's bring in Jake, Sara, and Amber.
Amber, first things first, chill out and leave some accolades for the rest of us. You're freaking amazing. We love you, and we're so happy you're here. So I'll leave it to Sara to go ahead and kick us off.
Amber! So I don't think a lot of people know, or maybe you do, I don't know. Amber and I had the opportunity to meet whenever we were in Miami. Her and I have been following each other for a while. I've been a massive fan of her artwork, and her as a human being. And then I got to meet Amber in Miami, and I basically became obsessed, I guess you could say. Like, she's the biggest boss lady of all time, an absolute genius, incredible artist, total and complete hustler. She is totally my art guru, and I'm ecstatic to have her on tonight.
Wow, that was really nice. I was like, keep talking. This is great. The whole show could just be you guys. You just pumping me up. I love it.
We probably could. We could turn a
Have
whole
we
show into
schmoozed
that.
you enough yet?
That was awesome. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And I miss you guys. Hopefully we can hang out.
Oh my gosh, we miss you so much. I cannot wait to get a chance to get together with you again.
Yes, we freaking love you,
to
Amber, and we need to see you soon. So I guess without further ado, we'll go ahead and kick it off because, I mean, you just have so much value and knowledge to bring to our community and to all the people out there. So we're excited to ask you some questions, and I'll go ahead and kick it off to Sara to get started.
Awesome.
Okay, so I know the answer to some of these questions, but I know a lot of our listeners probably don't. So don't be surprised if I ask you things that I definitely already know.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, where are you based out of?
So I am based in New York City. Currently, I'm in Los Angeles because even though I'm an East Coaster, I, for whatever reason, after 30 years, cannot handle the cold. But I am born and bred New Yorker.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you're born and bred in New York. Wow.
Yep, I had a 4-year trial in Boston when I went to college there. I don't know why I went to a colder climate, but that's
see how
the
far
only
you
other.
can push yourself.
Yeah, I know.
For real.
I was like, I'm 18, I can handle it, and I could not. But yeah, that's the only other place that I've lived outside of New York.
Boston
so,
is
yeah.
cold.
It is. My brother currently lives there. He's an MD PhD candidate, and he's like, "You get used to it." I'm like, "No, I don't think so."
No, you don't.
Totally don't. Especially somebody like myself who's like born and raised in Dallas. I'm like, you know, when it dips below 50, I'm no longer a functioning human.
We like to visit those
Texas
places,
shuts
but
down.
Yeah, no better to visit in the summer for sure.
Yeah.
Well, just you wait. We will definitely be visiting you. I can guarantee it right now.
Yes, that makes me so happy.
So Amber, so that's where you started your entire art career? I mean, did you go to some schooling out there for art specifically? What was sort of your background coming up in the art scene, you know?
Yeah, so long short of my history, I grew up in Paterson, New York, which is about 2 hours north of New York City. So it's much more rural up there. It's downstate New York technically, but I say upstate, and folks from Albany get angry. So if anyone's listening from actual upstate New York, I apologize. But
Apologies.
I was really fortunate that my parents noticed that I gravitated towards art. It's just easier for me to just express myself visually, and they kind of let me lean into that. So I took every art class that I could in school, and then I took like local art classes like at the library, and I loved it. And I didn't know that you can make a career out of art. I think I was like 11 or 12, and I was drawing, and my mom was like, "Oh, like would you ever consider like going to school for this and making this your job?" And I was like, "You could do that?" And she was like, "Yeah." So I'd say probably like a few years after that, when I was a teenager and entering in high school, that's when I was like, okay, I want to go to school for art. And I wanted to go to a university with an art program just so I could meet people that had interest outside of visual arts. So I ended up going to Boston University's College of Fine Art, and I have a degree in graphic design. And I chose graphic design because I was 18. I knew I wanted to be an artist. I didn't know what type of artist. I didn't want to do painting as a major or sculpture as a major. And
Uh-huh.
design at the time was very much all encompassing. And that kind of allowed me to play in different areas and kind of delay picking what type of art I wanted to make until I was an adult, like a proper
That's
adult.
A
And I
proper
still
Can
am.
adult.
I
Yeah.
just say how amazing it is how supportive your parents are
For
like
real.
regarding you being an artist? I think that's something that a lot of people don't
Have.
have is,
Yeah.
whenever you say, "Mom, Dad, I want to be an artist when I grow up," I feel like a lot of parents a lot of times are like, I really like that idea, but as was the case with me, and I think a lot of other people, it's like, okay, well, you're gonna go get a degree in this and art can be your
Hmm.
backup. um
100%. Yeah.
so it's really incredible that your parents really cultivated that and let you fly, because you've been just beyond, I mean, successful with everything that you've done. I mean, you are the true, like glow up of what
Yeah, they
us
they
artists
definitely
want to
picked
be.
the right the thing for, I mean, giving you that sort of pathway, because like Sarah said, most parents will say, yeah, that's almost what you did to yourself. You kind of put yourself in that hole, like, I'm going to do graphic design because it's kind of got a business quality to it, and it's universal because I'm not just going to be a painter. Or, I mean, you even kind of self censor on your own, without your parents being so supportive. I mean, my dad was always supportive, but it would also be like, yeah, you should do something with your art. And then he'd send me, some business jobs to apply to. So I think that is amazing.
Yeah, it
yeah.
was really.
I,
Oh,
I have a question for you, Amber. I
yeah.
am amazed by your process. Like, just watching your videos, like they're mesmerizing. I feel like I could just watch them on loop of you just doing your art. So my question is two pronged. Like, I know you have a class out there for people that are more interested in really learning deeply what your process is, but like at a high level, what does your art process look like, A? And B, how did you develop this unique style and how long have you had it for? And did you do anything else kind of before this really imprinted style that you have now?
Those are great questions. The first one for the classes, yeah, I do have two classes with Skillshare. One of them is about self-portraiture, and then the other one is just about exploring and experimentation. And those are both really fun. They're a little bit longer than my TikTok videos, but those are both really. And Beyond Me too, Skillshare has like a bunch of really cool artists that kind of share their thoughts and on their process. So it's really fun to kind of learn about different artists and how you can adapt what they do in their living for like what you do with your own artwork.
Very cool.
And then for my own style, it's definitely been an ongoing process. My work started off being very figurative and a little bit more representational of the human form. When I was in art school and going to different like museums and galleries in Boston, and then when I graduated, I worked full time as a designer and an art director. The way that both fine art and advertising portrayed women was something that I personally couldn't relate to. And that's something that I struggled with and something that affected my self confidence and how I viewed myself, and how I put myself out into the world. So I started to make work that I could resonate with. And that ended up being in the beginning very figurative. It's very much in my style, is a little bit more abstracted, very bright, very colorful. But I just wanted to make work that I could see myself in. And then with time, as I evolved as a person and as an artist, and I entered into my mid into my late 20s and now into my early 30s, that work became a bit more abstracted, and it became more about how I feel as a person versus how I see myself. So that's kind of the slow evolution of how my work has changed. With that, I would say the constants from my work, even from when I was a child, would be exploring with form and exploring with color, and using those two things to drive the narrative of my pieces. So even though my work has visually changed with time as I've changed as an artist, those two constants are kind of like the two things that always carry through.
I'm really glad that you said that, because last week on Good Humans, when we were talking to Mystic, we had somebody ask the question, should we change our style as artists over time, or should we always keep the same style as an artist?
It's a great question.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that you just answered the way that you did, because I think it's great for us as artists to change our style, because that's, of course, kind of reflects us changing as individuals and human beings too.
Definitely.
So really, really cool that you said that. And might I dare say, I adore your artwork, the entire gradient. I actually bought several of Amber's prints for my mom for Christmas, and she is just beyond over the moon about them.
Yeah, and I just think that that's such an important thing to say for artists, because especially right now in this space, right? And you preach this all the time, Amber, and it's I'm really happy that you do. There's like this like narrative of be careful of what you put out. This was successful. Be careful not to change it too much. Be careful of how much art you're putting out. And so like I think that's a really powerful message too, not only that it can change over time, but also just create when you want to create, because you've only given this like one of Sarah's favorite quotes that she says it all the time from Robin Williams is like, you're only given like a little spark of madness, and like don't let it go to waste. And so I think that just really is so important.
100%.
And Amber, you really, I think that you did something else that I think is so, like, not typical of an artist, but it shows just deep down that you're an artist, is that, even in an industry where you're successful, when you don't see yourself represented in the way that you can relate to, you create your own, you create your own area where you can explore, and where you can start using, like you said, the color and the shape and the form, and explore that in your own way. And that, again, ties back into what Jake was saying, like in this space, being able to do that. If you're not seeing something that's representing you, I mean, go out there and do it, represent yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think the idea too of style for artists, that's great that someone asked that question. It's something that I always struggle with, because I feel like, at least in art school, is very much the artist that we would learn in our like textbooks all had a specific style. Or like at least that's how it was presented to us. And then as you dive into artists that you love, you realize that that's all curated. So usually when you go to different gallery shows or different museum shows, or you're on someone's website or on their Instagram, like that's all curated. So if you look at someone's work chronologically, you kind of see that evolution. So I try not to worry myself with like, oh, does this look like me? And I'm just like, yeah, I made it, so obviously it does. So I think that's something that I try to remind myself when I like slip.
That's an easy way to get by.
Yeah, and like when I slip into that thinking of like, oh no, like will people recognize this as me? And it's just, that's kind of like an ego talking, and to kind of quiet that, it's like, no, like you made it. Some part of you needed you to make it. Like, don't stress
100%.
yourself out about that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that.
So Amber, I know a lot of people in the Twitterverse think of you as just this NFT gangster badass woman, but you have been around long before NFTs and had a career in art before NFTs. And a lot of people don't know you also worked in some capacity with Gary Vee and all that kind of stuff. Can you tell us what did life look like for Amber before NFTs came around?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I graduated college, I was lucky enough to, my parents live close to New York City, so I moved home. My first job, I was a web designer at Victoria's Secret, and I commuted like 2 hours in, 2 hours out every day for that job. And that's really a great place where I learned how to work with a team. but after a while, you're a web designer, it becomes kind of monotonous. I knew I wanted to work for myself in some capacity, making my own work. So I wanted to work at an agency, and I was really fortunate that one of my friends from college worked at an agency called VaynerMedia. And she's like, yeah, we make, artwork and do photo shoots and stuff for social media. And I was like, that is a job. That's great. So I interviewed there, and then I was a designer at Vayner for probably a year and a half, and then I was promoted to art director probably for almost another year and a half, give or take.
Wow.
That's where I met Dave, my husband, which was great. He's quietly
We love
sitting
Dave.
next to me. He's quietly sitting next to me. Laugh. So there, Vayner is really where I learned a lot of what I've taken into my freelance practice, which is how to use social media to tell a story. I was like, if I could tell a story for a brand, I could definitely tell the stories behind my own artwork. I also learned how to time manage and use Google calendars to an extreme. And Vayner really taught me not only how to work with one team, but multiple teams. So to be able to kind of jump from one line of thinking to another line of thinking really allowed me, when I started doing freelance illustration work, to be able to work with multiple clients simultaneously. So that was really amazing. But at the end of Vayner, I got to the point where I was like, okay, I think like I've been kind of freelancing a little bit here and there. It's really tough to do that at an agency, given flexibility with hours. I'm going to find a proper 9-to-5 job and then take all that extra time back and put it towards freelancing and working towards working for myself. So I worked at Avon, which is that beauty company. It used to be like door to door. Now it's done online. And that was really lovely. I was there for about a year. And with all the time I got back, I really just dove into putting my artwork out there, telling everyone like, hey, I'm taking on freelance clients, doing cold outreach, anything that I could do to kind of get my artwork in front of different companies. And after a year doing both is when I took the leap into freelance work, which was a little over 4 years ago now. So, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And just to reset the room, because we have a lot of new friends in here, this is Good Humans with Wow and Amber Vittoria. She's absolutely amazing. I will say at the end of the show, we are going to open it up for questions. And if ever before, definitely utilize that time, because Amber is an absolute wealth of knowledge. And she's such a badass, and she knows so much, and you can learn a lot from her. So with that, I'll pass it back off to Sarah for our next question.
Well, before the question, I just want to say that you may only be a year older than me, but I still want to be you when I grow up.
Oh my God. Wait, I thought we were the same age. You're not born in 1990?
Me too.
Wait, did you say 91?
No, I'm 90.
Oh, I'm 91.
Oh, okay. Never mind. So then you were correct.
See? I could still be you when I grow up.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Amber, I want to be you when I grow up too.
Yeah, I think we all want to be Amber when we grow up.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
He's like, wow, what a schmooze fest, man.
I love it. This is great. This is good for my confidence. I need it.
Boosting that serotonin up. What have been some of the biggest struggles that you feel like you've faced as an artist, both prior to the NFT space and in the NFT space?
I feel like both the struggles are similar-ish, outside of obviously the technical aspect of learning NFTs, which I feel like we all can relate to. I would say being an artist, as a freelancer, the biggest hurdle that I've faced is, I feel like, being a woman in the space. NFTs, non-NFTs, I think that with representation, it's tough to tell your stories, to be taken seriously. I know that's not limited to the space of being an artist. I know that expands to other spaces as well. But trying, your hardest to put your work out there, sometimes it could feel like a bit of a tougher hill than for other folks. But that, I think, is irregardless of NFTs or art as a freelancer before that. But I would say the really amazing thing about the NFT space is that for the first time, I mean, I'm not that old, but for the first time in my life, it feels like people are taking seriously wanting to hear voices of people that haven't been able to be given a microphone before. So that to me gives me so much hope, because before NFTs, I feel like it was a lot more difficult to kind of get your work out there in front of people that can help you. So that's been really nice. I would say obviously struggles with NFTs, just like my husband was very much like, okay, to buy an NFT, you need to have this wallet and then this wallet and then you connect this wallet. And I was like, what?
Yeah,
And I'm like, I'm pretty
Know that
internet savvy.
feeling.
So
definitely.
I like, whenever people have questions, I try to point them into like, you know, like tutorials on how to do it. But I feel like with time, it's just going to be so easy. But I feel like we can all really relate to that struggle.
Mhm.
But yeah, I would say that the biggest one being an artist is just, you know, getting your name out there as a woman.
Totally agree with you. And, you know, I feel like through this space, I've had a really incredible opportunity to get to know so many other female artists like you, like Moonbot, I see you, like
Yep.
AOFE, like so Tanya, I see you over there, Chels, but Peg Samuel, like all of us, what's great about this space is we're really helping uplift one another. And I think definitely helping each other's work get seen too. So it's really turned into an awesome kind of grassroots collective. I feel like these female artists in this space, and it's given us this opportunity to collaborate that I feel like we haven't really had in the past, as well as a kind of an increased exposure to a wider population.
Definitely, because I feel like too, because all this NFT stuff happens on Twitter. Twitter is more of a platform that's like less of a broadcasting platform. So I feel like Instagram and TikTok, it's like, hey, hello, here's my stuff, please like it. Whereas Twitter, obviously Twitter is that too, but I feel like it's also easier to like meet and connect with and chat with people, like even just in spaces alone. So that's been really nice too.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you.
That is awesome. And Amber, I have a question because I basically see Amber Vittoria everywhere. Like everywhere you look, like Sarah and I are so surprised. We're like looking at something. We're like, holy crap, that's Amber's work. We're like going to go get something framed at Framebridge, and you're on there too. Like you are absolutely everywhere. And so, I'd love if you could tell us some of the brands that you work with and where we can where people can find some of your work that you've done with different brands. And B, in terms of providing value to people, how did you learn to negotiate with these brands? Like this is a skill that is you are just in such high demand. And how do you like navigate these waters of like working with these brands for artists out there that want to do the same?
Thanks. That makes me feel good. So the reason why you see my work everywhere is this years of work, getting yourself out there. And it's always funny because whenever, especially pre-NFTs, whenever I'd have projects come out, for whatever reason, serendipity would have it that like 4 of them would come out at the same time. And it'd be like a year's worth of work, like all comes out in a week. And people are like, oh my God, your stuff's everywhere. How are you doing so much work? And I was like, yeah, I finished that project like 4 months ago, but it's being published now. So to answer your second question about like how to negotiate, how to get work like that, the number one question I get is how do brands find me? And it's really how do I find brands? So I do a lot of cold outreach. I'm the type of person that's like, shoot your shot. Worst case scenario, somebody doesn't get back to you or someone says no, and like that's okay. So a lot of the work that I've done with the different brands that I have on my client roster is just really me reaching out to them. Obviously, with time now and social media, a lot of projects do reach out to me, but in the beginning, it was 100% me doing outreach.
Were you using like social media as your platform? Were you going through LinkedIn and like finding specific art directors at companies and
that's exactly
messaging,
it.
or finding out ways to get their numbers through like, US phone book and just cold calling?
Dane, she is a wizard. She is an absolute wizard.
Literally.
I mean, she is so impressive. I'll let her answer it. But like, just when she was giving us the download on this stuff, we were just blown away. Like, what a badass boss woman she is.
Yeah, well, I would love to hear that because I did a ton of work in like trying to reach people and find the inner workings of companies, and I know that can be just kind of mind numbing at a certain point to find the right person.
Yeah, so what I do is like I'll schedule maybe like 30 minutes every few days to kind of do outreach, but Instagram, my algorithm on Instagram has gotten pretty good. So it'll serve me ads and content from startup brands, more established brands, a combination of the two. In ad format, and then I'll just save those ads. I'm like, that's a cool brand. I think I want to reach out to them down the road. And now I kind of have this ongoing list of, when I do have time to reach out to them. If I can, I try to find a contact directly. You go on LinkedIn, find an art director, creative director, marketer, someone that might have
with the
some
right,
might have some say, and then guess their email. If that comes back with a bounce back, then like I'll send it to their info at or contact at. And like it's definitely a volume situation, you know, like with time in the beginning, it takes some time to find companies that you would want to work with as an artist. But with time, you kind of have this ongoing list. And let's just do cold outreach. And I'd say the question I get after that is when I usually give that advice, people are like, I've done it, and no one gets back to me. And it was like, it's gonna take time. Like
Yeah,
I
you
remember I
haven't
would
done
do
it
cold
enough.
yeah, I've done cold outreach since I was like in college. Like, and for years people would be like, nice work, but no thanks, or like people wouldn't get back to me. And it just, with time, people will start to get back to you. And the
Do
beauty
you
of social
see?
media helps too.
Yeah, do you see that the more that your artwork, once you started getting sort of your foot in the door and you started seeing your artwork getting picked up, that built out sort of your resume instead of just having portfolio of nice artwork, like you sort of have these brands and companies, and then that sort of opened up even more doors because they felt confident in you.
Yeah, I would say that helped. And then also like people that would work at one company that would work with me if they left their job and then started at another company, and they're like, oh, hey, like we really liked working with Amber. Just like a combination of like word of mouth, getting myself out there, and
Being a badass, I get
it. And just, you know, just trying to share my work with as many people as possible.
That's great.
Can I just say that whenever I was in Miami, I was kind of picking Amber's brain about a lot of these things, and I felt like I gained like a thorough like college level education.
Oh my
A full
God.
college course, yeah.
Genuinely like the most life enriching information and advice that I could ever possibly gather. I mean, you are just an absolute genius, and I feel like you have so much to offer to people. I think that you're going to do so many big things, and you're going to be such a big brand, not that you aren't already, but you have so much to offer to people. And I think people are really going to be able to learn so much from you because you are so talented, an absolute genius, wonderful human being.
And the right mindset, you know, hearing you talk, and like the way that you think through things, and the way that I mean, you don't just, oh, well, I put in the 30 minutes, you know, and I didn't hear back. Like it's a constant work at it, work at it, work at it. And if you have the no quit attitude, I think that that's something that, you know, a lot of people say they have, but seeing it in someone, you know, like you, it really helps.
Oh, thanks. I would say another way to make it easier is, you know, I definitely watch TV while I do the outreach,
Yeah.
you know, because it does get boring. You're
There
like,
you
oh
go.
God.
Yeah. Throw some
Like,
headphones in. I get
you,
it.
so like there are definitely ways to make it, you know, less monotonous for sure. And I know that you guys asked the question about how do I negotiate rates, and I did want to talk about that. So
Yeah.
it's definitely tough because freelancers, everyone lives in different places, cost of living is different, everyone's personal needs are different, so that's why rates can vary. My first go-to is to always ask the client if they have a budget range. Usually it's this odd volleyball back and forth. We're like, how much do you charge? And you're like, well, how much is your budget range? And like, oh, you let us know. I'm like, well, no, you let me know. But like, ideally, and it's fine. You know, it's like a little dance. But I feel like if they are able to provide you with a budget and then you come up with a scope of work that feels comfortable for you within that budget, that is the ideal. Oftentimes some companies are like, we actually don't know, like, you know, they might be working with multiple artists, or they might have a few projects where they could shift budgets if you come in higher, or what have you. What I like to do is I have like a network of people where like I can be like, hey, like I saw that you worked with this brand, like do you mind sharing with, like, you know, what the scope was like for your project. And I always invite people to ask me the same thing, depending on like what the project scope is, the usage, the rights that the company has with that artwork after the fact. But if I still can't find that after asking around, I kind of build on that myself. So most projects for commercial illustrators, you don't give over the copyright. It's usually a licensing type of a situation, and that's really where the biggest sliding scale is. I don't charge hourly. A lot of budding illustrators and designers would charge hourly. I usually advise against that. I'd be like, here's my budget. Here's your licensing. You get it for X number of years. Here's the number of options I'm going to give you. Here's the number of revisions. If we go above that scope, we either revisit the budget or it's at X amount of dollars per round. And I try to make it as clear as possible and then kind of go back and forth with the client to get to a place where we're both at a happy medium. And that seems to work for me. And every artist that I've talked to has their own process and it works for them. So obviously, if you try my process and you're like, this was awful, you'll learn kind of what works best for you and the type of artwork that you're making with clients. So that's usually my advice to folks.
Wow.
Such good advice. Like
So
super,
smart.
Really
super
is.
valuable advice. And I mean, Amber, I feel like we could talk to you for like 3 hours, but we've only got you for an hour, right? So we want to get through our other questions so that we can open up to the floor. And my next question was, it's already public knowledge, so you can talk about it. You are going to be a strategic partner with Coinbase for their upcoming launch, which is absolutely amazing. We're
I'm so
excited for you. And I want you to tell us a little bit about that collection, your inspiration behind it, and dive in. And especially before she says anything, pay attention to when she launches, because that sucker is going to be gone in seconds. I can see it already. I told her that while we were in Miami.
I hope so. But yes, so thank you. So in terms of my collection with Coinbase, folks have been asking me, when is it going to come out? That's still something that I do not know yet, but it will be this year, I hope. But hopefully Coinbase will announce soon when they launch their NFT platform. And with that, I'll be able to have a better understanding of when my collection will launch, which is exciting. But the collection is called Just Let Me Paint Sunlight, and it's 500 one-of-one gradient drawings that I've made inspired by the sunlight. And the idea behind it is, I feel that oftentimes, especially as a commercial illustrator, I'm obviously very fortunate for all the work that I get to be able to support myself with my work. However, a lot of my work does come in around the month of March, which is Women's History Month. And pre-NFTs, there's just one of those things where it's like, I have to take on this work. This is how I support myself. I feel a little bit taken advantage of, where it's like, oh, we're a company, we need to look like we support women, so let's hire a woman, it's March. And so I often felt like I would work myself to the bone in February and into the first weeks of March, just to make sure that I can get all these projects done, because that's where a chunk of my income would come from. And this collection really speaks to that, because I feel like the NFT space and platforms like Coinbase really champion artists for who they are and the work that they make, versus trying to like virtue signal for a specific history month. And huge. So this collection kind of celebrates that new step into, uplifting and celebrating an artist's work because you enjoy their work, not because you're trying to, say something with their work and kind of take advantage of them. So it kind of celebrates this space and how we've been able to kind of slowly shift that narrative towards helping artists throughout the entire year and not just during their, designated history month. So I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean,
and
wow.
I'm in love with all of these sunlight pieces. I know you've been posting them regularly, and I absolutely adore them. By the way, folks, if y'all aren't already following Amber on Twitter, on Instagram, I highly recommend it, because first and foremost, her art videos are positively mesmerizing. I think you could almost meditate to them. And second of all, I mean, she's just so full of knowledge. Definitely a great person to follow in the space and learn from. I feel like that's something that I tell everybody in my interviews is Amber is one of the artists that I absolutely adore, because
so nice.
One, incredible artist, and two, always full of absolutely fantastic advice and knowledge and what have you.
A real businesswoman too.
Yes, big time.
You're not just an artist. You have that dual capacity to be able to negotiate. I mean, it's true. It's like some people can be. I think I fall into that category. I'm a good artist and a little lazy. And just not, I try.
Hey, we all are. I feel like after these last 2 years, we all deserve to be a little lazy.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. But no,
that's
it really
funny.
is. Having that duality is amazing.
So Amber, you've got such a good eye, and we see that you're actively collecting. And I know you co-own some pieces with Dave. What are your A, favorite pieces that you own, and B, what are some upcoming and or already out recent projects that you think are going to take off and people should be looking into and checking out?
Oh boy, pressure. I would say that emotionally my favorite piece or NFT that we've collected is the CryptoPunk that I currently use as my profile picture. Dave's used it as his profile picture at a time in the past, just because that's how I learned about NFTs. That's where Dave like convinced me to like go in on this thing before it took off, which I'm excited about, but also like now I'm never gonna want to sell it, so oh well. So that's one of my favorites. I would say I have 2 women in weapons. Dave minted like 3 of them, I think. I didn't really mint before recently because I was always afraid to. So I like to like pick mine. So women in weapons, I just really love the artwork. I think it's something that I really resonate with, and the idea of like women having to go out into the world being like armed, whether it's with knowledge or just I don't know. For me, it's armed with knowledge because that's what I try to do. Uh, it just really resonated with me. So I really love your pieces. Some new projects I minted. I didn't mint. I lied. I bought 2 JPEG people. I think
I
they're called the
love
picture.
those. I thought that was such a cool and unique idea. Those are so cool. We haven't gotten any yet.
I love the artwork. I mean, all of the, if you like scroll through the pieces that I've collected, it's either artists that I've known or artists that I've learned about in this space that I love. And I try to collect as I sell artwork. I try to collect a few as I go. But the JPEG people ones, one of them's like awake, but at what cost? And I'm like, yo, that is exactly me. That's like, me trying to get up early in Los Angeles to do New York hours. And I'm like, why am I doing this? But I would say another project based NFT collection that I like is expansion punks. And the fun story about this, I don't know if my friend Danielle is in this space, but she would laugh if she were here. So my friend Danielle was like, hey, I heard about expansion punks. They're trying to bring a little more equality and build off of the original crypto punks. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And she was, yeah, I minted one, and it was the top 20th most rare one. It's like an ape with a tiara. I'm like, you have a tiara? And I've always wanted a tiara punk, but obviously now these are tiara punks are like worth millions, worth more than most people will ever make in their lives, so that won't happen. So I was like, this is my moment for a tiara punk. And I like my FOMO, which I do not suggest and do not advise to do what I did. I had like, okay, I've got a budget of like about a half an ETH. Let me go mint a few and see if I'll get a tiara. And of course I didn't get a tiara. So then I went and bought a tiara one. So but expansion punks, I really like their messaging behind what they're doing. They also have non-binary expansion punks, which I think is really amazing.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I love.
Real quick, Amber, on the
Yep.
expansion punks, right? We're so darn busy that unfortunately we don't have as much time to dive into these things. But we're so worried about these people that are doing these derivatives and they're not really like
Yes.
approved and X, Y, and Z. But it sounds like there's something special going on with the expansion punks. Like, can you tell us a little bit more about it? We haven't had the time to check it out.
I'm so glad you asked that, because I was going to get into when my friend minted hers. I was like, just be careful. It's a derivative that really starts to walk in that murky territory of copyright. I was like, I know a lot of NFT projects do derivatives, and the beauty of, or have derivatives done of them. And the beauty of the blockchain is it's pretty overt to know like what was done first because of that provenance. But I was like, if that asset gets locked up, that's locked, like that you've just lost what you've invested in. So my rule of thumb is only play with money that you are okay with losing. I would say 90% of the NFTs that I have, I've bought from artists because I love that work or I love the message behind it. And it's like, I don't have really any intention of selling them. So I kind of go into it like that. Like when I collect regular art, physical artwork from people that I admire. I go into it with not with the like trading point of view, more of just like, I love this artist, I love their work, I'm gonna buy this from them, and that's
what's
kind of
behind
it.
the art in the art itself.
So
true artist.
So with expansion punks too, like that was something where I was like, I love the amber color background, obviously, because
I know every time I see purple, I think of you.
And but I was just like, I like these. Obviously I like the artwork of the punks. I like the fact that they were really thoughtful and kind of expanding upon a world that was limited and like gender ratio was off. And I don't know, I thought that was really interesting to me. But again, yes, I feel like anything derivative on this, I try to tread lightly because you never know what's going to happen with it.
Yeah,
of course.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Well, I think we can sit up here and fire questions at y'all all night, but I think we're gonna open the floor up and let some people in the crowd come up and ask a question.
Yeah.
And if you guys are shy and you don't want to get up here, feel free to post questions in the Discord, and Jake and Sarah will try and take a look and we'll try and answer. But definitely request, and I will try and get as many people up here as I can. And this really is an opportunity to get some knowledge out of here. So I know that, we love to give praise and we love to be nice. We've been pretty nice all night, but let's really ask some questions where we can all get some benefit and really learn from Amber, because she does have a wealth of knowledge. So I know that Tao was one of the first to request, so I'm going to go ahead and get her up here. Okay.
Yeah, and while Dane is bringing people up, I know Tal's about to come up here in just a minute. Again, Sarah and I are going to be monitoring the Discord. I think we just got a few new friends in here. So again, this is Good Humans with WoW and Amber Vittoria, just to reset the room. It is now time to get questions from the community. We're going to be watching the Discord. You guys absolutely have to take the time and ask Amber questions. She is just so darn smart and a wizard in this space. So with that, I guess we'll go ahead and start with Tao. Tao, we love you. What's the story?
Hi guys. My voice sounds horrible. I just got over the flu, but I just had to.
Oh no!
I know, but I mean, Amber, come on. I haven't seen you in a space yet, so I was like, I gotta say hi. So I mean, I was born in '89, so I want to grow up to be both of y'all. So.
Oh my god!
Let's start with that. And
that's awesome.
The funny thing is, when I first got in this space, you were one of the first Twitter accounts that I discovered, and the reason why I was so obsessed, because I was like, oh my god, she is such a boss. Like, look at her, just she's such an entrepreneur, and you're a one-on-one artist, and you're just trailblazing. Like, you are where I want to be 5 years from now. And so when I met Sara and Jake in Miami, they can literally hype up a potato. Like, they are so good. I was with them for a couple days. They hyped you up 75% on that.
Oh my god, that's amazing. They're the best.
They are literally the best. And so I was like, yeah, I know who Amber is. And so I wanted to reach out, but I was like, I don't know how to approach this. But after, they were like, you got it. She's amazing. She does this and that. And I was like, okay, this is a sign. I got to reach out. And audience, Amber has been amazing and so kind. And she is not a gatekeeper. She's just so genuine and tries to help as much as she can. And I know she's busy. So my question is, where do you want to go a year, 2 years from now? What is your vision? Where do you want to be?
That's a great question. Also, thank you. And I say for folks following me here, I have my Twitter DMs turned off because of spam bots. But Instagram, feel free to DM me. I do check through those because Instagram's got a better filter on the bot situation. So if you want to reach out and say hi, that's probably the better place, because Twitter was just a lot of hello, give us your MetaMask. And I was like, ah! So I turned it off. I would say, but to answer your question, I would say in 1 to 2 years, I would love to. Right now, I kind of pivot between still doing client work and selling NFTs, but it'd be really lovely to sell more physical one-of-one pieces as NFTs as well. So to be able to make larger paintings and have folks collect the NFT, but then also have that painting, that's something that I feel like as the space matures and allows for people to, safely and securely give information of where I could ship a physical artwork to them that they've collected the NFT. I feel like that would be something in the next few years I would like to do. Personally, I would say I've always been in New York, but I would love to. Dave and I have been talking about moving to Los Angeles. The weather is just really lovely here, and we have friends out here, and to have more space and to live and make work instead of making all of my work on our kitchen table would be nice, personally. So hopefully do that
Austin
next year.
Austin instead, cough.
Yeah, you could stop halfway through.
Yes. I feel like doesn't Austin get really hot though? I gotta live.
Well, if you're from the Northeast, yes, Austin gets pretty darn hot.
No, it's fine. You would do really well. It wouldn't be a problem at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We'll see.
Just the reason for the temperature. Tao, fantastic question.
Yeah,
I
really
do
was.
have two things from Discord real quick. First and foremost, Bantha Fodder Dan said that he was absolutely dying when you were talking about folks from Albany, New York, that they aren't really upstate since he or she is upstate. LOL. And then BennyBoy.eth said they're from Utica, New York, and they want to know how someone in a small town can make a big impact.
Oh, Utica. Also, thank you guys for not getting mad at me, because I'm like, okay, I'm upstate New York. And they're like, no, you're an hour from New York City. That's very much down the state, but which is accurate. I would say that the beauty of, and people ask me this question, like, do you need to live in New York City to be successful as an artist? And that's tough for me to answer because that's really all I know. Because I grew up 2 hours north and then went to school in Boston and then came back to live with my parents and then happened to get a job in New York City. And that's just kind of where I've been for the last decade. So it's tough to answer that question objectively just because I've lived in New York, so I know no different. However, I would say that the beauty of the internet and especially NFTs, there are so many projects and artists that you don't even know who they are as a person, and they've been successful because of their work. And I think that paired with the pandemic and people working more remotely, I think that in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see that living in a city won't necessarily have to be as important for folks, especially for artists. Like, you'll be able to have your own community of people where you live, and or even you can create a community in the metaverse and live all over the place.
100%.
Totally.
Totally agree.
I mean, I could be
Absolutely.
wrong. I don't know into the future, but I feel like long term that's going to change. Like, I remember, like, even 2 or 3 years ago, Dave's like, let's move to Los Angeles. It's like LA. Like, I don't think I'll be able to do that. Like, that's not New York. And now I'm like, oh God, Amber. You know what I mean? So, like, you could live wherever you want to. And the only reason why we're choosing another city is because we both like cities. And that's just kind of what we know. We like a lot of people.
Yeah, that's your prerogative.
Yeah,
you
but it's
you
not.
get to make that choice.
Yeah, but it's not because it's like, oh, we have to live in a city, you know. So I think
Right.
that that's my hope, at least, is like people be able to live where they want to live and be able to support themselves doing what they love because
It's
of the
definitely a
internet.
trend that you can
Yeah.
see happening. And I mean, in the software development and engineering space is one of the go-to places where they're having more and more remote work. And like you said, with the pandemic and everything, I mean, it's been a complete overhaul of the way that businesses sort of look at, the overhead of having an entire office to spend money on and have people come into. So it's huge.
Exactly.
Agreed.
And that was an awesome answer. Hopefully, Benny Boy, that answers
Helped.
your question. And by the way, BennyBoy.eth is the owner of the #1 rarity Women in Weapons.
What?
And
That's
What?
awesome.
yes, and we were like Sarah and I are like web sleuths, so of course we like try to hunt down our our collectors, and we really like to stay in touch with everyone and like develop like a deeper relationship. And finally we got to hear from Benny Boy, and that just reminded me, thanks so much for asking your question. We still have to set up a meeting with you. We'd love to chat with you. So hopefully that answered your question, and with that we'll go to one of our other favorite humans. Chels, what you got for us?
Shells.
Hey everyone, how are you guys doing?
What's up, Charles?
Hey, I love everything that you guys have talked about, and oh my gosh, Amber, you have so much good knowledge. First of all, I just want to say thank you for getting back to me. I have a million questions for you, so I'm really glad that you decided to join my space in a couple weeks. I'm really grateful for that. I really want to dive into more of your story, and I do a lot of stuff with mental health and talking about the deeper side of things and how art can help that and stuff. So I'm really looking forward to chatting more with you about that. But one of the things I wanted to ask you right now is I heard you say a couple things about your confidence and stuff. I was just kind of curious what your success in the NFT space and the freedom in the NFT space, like what that has done for your confidence as an artist.
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say that NFTs, because the space is so volatile, that I feel like one day you're like, oh my goodness, I sold out a collection, and then the next day you're like, oh no, wait, why are people selling it below the floor? Like things that as an artist I would have never really like thought to care about. I started caring about. So I feel like it definitely has been a bit of a yo-yo, and I feel like everybody can feel that way as well. I've been very fortunate that I have been in therapy for a bit now, probably a little over a year. So before I even knew what NFTs were, I want to say, because I do have anxiety, and a lot of that anxiety is related to I have a lot of severe food allergies, which have landed me in the emergency room more than I would like to admit. And because of that kind of like fear of dying is the reason why I have therapy. So that's been really nice to be able to, as you know, the emotional roller coaster of NFTs have happened, I've been able to work with my therapist and be able to kind of balance myself out in that. But I would say my self-confidence, definitely the wavering of it definitely pulls from, I would say, what we call Web 2 now, in social media and putting yourself out there for other people to like you. I think that is kind of what had triggered the instability of my self-confidence. So it's really nice that NFTs, I feel like, will hopefully help change that, not only for myself, but for other folks that have like kind of a similar trajectory to me.
I love
Yeah.
that. I appreciate that answer so much. And I can't even imagine like the PTSD like that you probably have from dealing with food allergies like that. So I love that you share that you go to therapy, and that that's an important element in your life. So yeah, I can't wait to dive in more with you. I have so many questions, but
Yeah,
thanks
I'm
for
so
letting me
excited.
come up.
Yeah, of
Thanks,
course.
Chels.
Everybody, by the way, if you're not following Chelsea, I say this every single week. I feel like now she's one of my favorite humans. You need
Yeah,
to go
she
follow
is.
her. You need to go check out her spaces. They're really lovely. Lots of good info, just safe space, good chatting, and she's awesome. And by the way, what the heck? Like, I feel like Amber, you're like a ghost. We never get to see you in these spaces, and now
I
two back to back. This is
know.
nice.
I've done like I've listened to other spaces, and then I'll be like drawing or working while listening, and somebody like, Amber, I'm like, yo, I cannot talk right now. So now I'm just like so nervous to like join spaces. So sometimes like Dave will join and I'll listen in through
That's
his,
so
but I'm like,
funny.
I should join more and be like, if that just
Should. You have
happens, just
such a wealth of knowledge,
Yeah,
and you
exactly. That's what I was
communicate
just
so
about to
well.
say, Dane. Like, if anybody should be in these spaces, it should be Amber. She's just got so much
Yeah,
to give,
But
and
I
like,
not
totally
me.
get it though, because when you're working, it's really hard to be like, oh crap, I think they said my name. Maybe it wasn't my name. I'm not sure. Should I turn on the mic? Should I not turn on the mic? I'm not really
I
sure.
know.
Answer
So
the right thing.
I know. So I feel like I'll just listen, and then like worst case scenario, if that happens, I'll be like, oops, internet. Ooh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
whoopsies.
You definitely
That's
need a
awesome.
covert account to just hop in rooms, so nobody
Oh,
notices you. You just
that's
hide
oh,
out,
so
smart,
you know.
good move,
smart. I
I use my
love that
daughter's
idea.
account occasionally, and
smart.
That's
also
clever.
if you use your computer, you don't show up for some reason, but you also
Oh, that's
Interesting.
can't talk.
interesting.
So
Wait, really?
Ooh.
If you're on
yeah.
your computer, you don't show up?
Yeah, sometimes every time that I've used it, I don't show up because I've checked on my phone. So
Oh, I
I've
Interesting.
might.
That's
multitasted
interesting.
in a few different
That's
Chelsea,
rooms
great.
Chelsea
before.
with the
Alpha.
alpha,
Incognito mode.
There
yeah,
you
the
go.
incognito mode.
I love
So
that.
so Chelsea, absolutely, you are amazing. Thank you so much for coming up. Thank you so much for your
Thank
question. I
you.
think we've got one in the Discord, and I'll pass it off to Sarah to go ahead and ask it.
Well, first and foremost, I'm not going to call it incognito mode. I'm going to call it a cloak of invisibility. Thank you very much.
Yes.
All right, Harry Potter reference.
I had to, I just had to. So All Eyes in Discord is saying, first and foremost, incredibly impressed about Amber's works and techniques. Where does she get her inspirations from?
That's a great question. I would say that for the content of my work, whether it's my poetry or my abstracted paintings, a lot of that just comes from lived experience, whether it's my own experience or experience of folks that are close to me or experiences that I read about. And then the color palette, actually, a lot of my palettes come from nature. I really love, my goal in life is to see all the American or United States national parks. We've seen how many, Dave? Like 24? Yeah, we've seen 24 of them. I think there are like 63 of them. So, hopefully I get to see all of them. But a lot of my color palettes come from visiting those parks.
And take me with you for those upcoming trips.
Yes,
Yeah,
we're going to Arches and Canyonlands in February, which I'm so stoked about. I cannot wait. It's be great.
You hear that, Dave?
It'll
You
be
and
We're
Dave
coming.
are so cool.
Yeah. We got the space, I think, our Airbnb. We'll
Dave's
talk
over there
offline. You
shaking
can
his
come.
head like, no, we don't.
Dave's like, they can sleep on the sofa.
That's right. We've got a good floor for you, buddies.
But hey,
I'm a big
I love a
snorer,
good floor.
just FYI.
So we are almost out of time, but I wanted to reserve the last question for myself very selfishly. I don't remember if I asked you this already, but I kind of wanted to delve into it. Who are your like top 1, top 2 favorite non-NFT like traditional artists?
Ooh, top 1 or 2. That is a great question. I love the work of Judy Chicago. Her work's in like every freaking museum ever. It's beautiful and impactful, and her work just really resonates with me. And then another artist is Carrie James Marshall. I saw his work years ago, pre-pandemic, so it feels like lifetimes ago, at I think it was the ICA in Chicago. I'd have to double check, but it was a art exhibition called Mastery, and it was incredible. And they're both 2 of my favorite artists. There are so many more, but those 2, I don't think either of them have done NFTs. They're both very, very established artists, like, like high, I don't know what's late career. I don't know what one would call that financially, but both of their works are just like, they're very well known, and I love both of their work. And it'd be awesome if they did NFTs one day, but I don't think either of them necessarily need to. But yeah.
That's funny. I feel like I have like a hit list of like artists that I'm just in love with, and I'm like, please let me please do NFTs. Like you could do so much amazing stuff.
I
know.
Hit list was a weird choice of words.
Yeah, hit list was a weird choice of words.
Yeah,
but
whoa.
you know what I mean? Like there are so many artists out there. I'm like, oh my, I would love to see what you could come up with in this space. Like I think you're awesome, but eventually time will come.
I know. Yeah. I recently, or I guess
Jake wants to start crossing names off his list.
Yeah, right. Collecting names off his list. I absolutely fell in love with Kehinde Wiley like a year or so ago, I want to say. And I saw one of his pieces in real life whenever we were at Art Basel in Miami, and it just made me like even more head over heels for his artwork. So
he's incredible.
Oh my God. I just would, I want like a mural on every wall of his artwork. I would just die for it.
Speaking of that, we are low key. It's in the goals list for this year, Amber, buying a new house and moving potentially to Austin. And when we do, I need a massive Amber Vittoria piece on our wall. So just be prepared for that commission. It's got to happen. So just a warning.
That would be awesome. I feel like because the boards that I work on are super heavy, I'll just ship it to you and then paint it in your new house. That'd be fun.
Yes! I like the sound of that.
We're here for it. And you can stay for as long as you want.
Yay! I love it. That's awesome.
Well, last thing, we know we can buy your art as NFTs, but where are some places that people can buy your artwork, your physical art pieces?
Yeah, so I right now have I'm selling prints of my artwork. I use Society 6. It's definitely a little bit more of an accessible way to have folks collect prints, give prints to their friends and to their family. I used to sell my paintings just on their own, but I've kind of held off on doing that because I want to figure out, hopefully, if the universe aligns, I could get a membership to Super Rare and then be able to do that one-of-one tethered with the physical. But if that doesn't pan out, I will add back to my website my shop to just buy my normal physical paintings as well.
Interesting.
Well, I'll say I bought those 2 pieces for my mom off Society 6, and I also bought 2 pieces for myself off Society 6, in addition to the NFTs that we've bought. And my mom's neighbor is now obsessed with your artwork. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, there's a lot of definitely physicals that are wanting to be
You're
purchased.
just gonna see like a DFW, like a Dallas Fort Worth, just like resurge of sales, Amber, because we tell everybody about you. But with that, guys, Amber has boss lady things to do, and we can't keep her all night. But if you are not following Amber, you need to do so. And who am I kidding? Everybody here probably is, because she's amazing. And if you have a chance, go check out her collections on OpenSea. I think she still has some letters left. Am I correct, Amber?
I do. Yeah, that was my biggest collection up until, when the Coinbase one comes out. So I've got a bunch of letters left that are looking for new homes.
Yeah, and if you don't get those before they're gone, then that's a mistake on you. But anyways, we love Amber. Go follow all her stuff. Amber, do you have any parting last words before we head out of here?
Just wanted to thank you all for hanging out and tuning in. This was really fun. I love doing it. And yes, I will join more spaces. And I know I'm like that elusive person with the punk that makes art that never joins spaces because I'm lazy. So
just do the invisibility.
Thank you all for hanging out.
It's the invisibility cloak, no big deal.
There you go. Well, thank you to absolutely everyone in here. We see all your beautiful faces, familiar faces, and new friends. Thank you for coming. Definitely come to the next one. We're going to continue to have awesome and good humans come join us. So thank you all so much for being here. We really